What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the ZigZag. My name is Corbin, and thank you for joining me here today. And we have had a absolutely packed week in sports in general, not just WWE, because actually in the WWE, there hasn't been that much going on, if I'm going to be honest with you. Like my list of notes here is shorter than usual. Sometimes I'm up in like the 40s just between NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. But today, I only have about 27 things to talk about, and that includes the extra questions I've thrown in, and there's kind of a lot. So that's pretty cool, but at the end, I'm going to warn you, it's going to get really long, because at the end, I'm going to react to the WWE 2K26 overalls. That's going to be part of this podcast. I'm also going to post the video on my YouTube a little bit later. I'm just going to take this audio, I'm going to match it up with some gameplay in 2K26, and then you guys can kind of watch that video if you want to. So whenever I get down to that section, if you want to click off, it's totally fine. If you want to watch both, that'd be sick. But, you know, if that's a bit too much of a time commitment because you don't want to watch something twice or listen to something twice, I 100% get it. But I'll be doing that near the end. But the reason I say it's a big time in sports is because we got trades in the NFL going on. We got crazy stuff happening in the NBA. All these kind of things. So I mean, Max Crosby failed a physical, or the Ravens didn't like what they saw in his physical, and the trade was pulled. I haven't seen that since I've been alive. I don't think, as long as I've been paying attention to the NFL. So that's pretty crazy. And instead, they went and got Trey Hendrickson. That's nuts. And then you move over to the NBA. Like, you obviously know what I'm gonna say. Bam Adebayo. I think I said it wrong. Which is funny because I have his jersey. I literally have the Miami all black with the cotton candy blue and pink. I have that jersey of his. Bam dropped 83 points in one game. 83. It's more than Kobe. It's the second most points all time. It's unbelievable. That's what I need to look up, actually. Bam Adebayo, 83-point game stats. I want to see, because his full stats are genuinely insane. The amount of free throws, I believe they played the Wizards. Yeah, the amount of free throws the Wizards gave to him were absolutely unbelievable. I didn't watch the game. So what happened was I was sitting there and I was watching this, just like scrolling through my phone. And all of a sudden, I see new record high, Bam Adebayo scores 83 points or something like that. And I saw it on Instagram from not like an official account. I just saw it on a, whatever. And I was sitting there, I was like, Psh, well, that's fake. Like, obviously that's not real, because there's a whole bunch of like, meme accounts and a whole bunch of whatever. And then I'm like, well, I mean, is it? So I'm sitting there looking at it, and I go to the ESPN, like, actual app, and I look. It is 100% real. Bam Adebayo, 83 points. And I need to find his stats, which I'm, like, vigorously trying to find at the moment. We're looking through the top headlines. I'm going to find it eventually. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I'm going to find it. So, here I have the game pulled up. This was versus the Wizards last night. Bam Adebayo is a center for the Heat. 6'9", 260 pounds. He was averaging 18.1 points a game. Now he is averaging 20 points a game off of one game. I don't think you understand, if you don't follow the NBA, how big of a jump that is for points per game, especially this late into the season. It's pretty incredible. Now I'm going to go over some of his stats. And for some reason, it is showing me... Why is it showing me from his stats that he put up against the Celtics? Maybe we don't do that. So, he went 20 for 43 for field goals. 20 for 43. So, if you take away threes, that's already 40 points. Just off of, layups, middies, all that kind of stuff. He had a few threes, and this is the big one, and this is the controversial part. He made 36 for 43 on his free throws. 43 free throws were giving to him. And it's not like we're talking about Shea. Shea goes out there and he tries to just pull as many fouls as humanly possible. This dude Bam was not doing that. So the people online, I keep seeing this stupid consensus where people are like, oh, well, it's not a deserved 83. It's not deserved. Kobe's was better. I'm like, how was Kobe's better? How is putting up 81 points better than putting up 83 points? Make that make sense to me. Everybody was putting that like 81 better than 83. It's just not. It's just not. So I think if you have put that in a comment section, what I want you to do, I want you to click off this video and I want you just to delete YouTube and I want you to snap your phone over your knee because that's got to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard. 83 points is an unbelievable accomplishment. And what annoys me the most is people are trying to take this away from Bam. And I love Bam. He's such a genuine, down-to-earth dude that you see in so many interviews and all this stuff. I don't understand how people could possibly hate him. The reason he got 43 free throws was because he got so hot. The other team was like, let's just triple guard him. Let's double team him the entire time. Well, they were double teaming him and he was still getting the ball and scoring. So every time he got the ball, they were like, yeah, just foul him. Just foul him. And so he just started racking up free throws. And people online are like, well, he was trying to draw him. Like what do you want him to do? If someone walks up to him and slaps him in the face, you think he's just not going to take the free throws? Oh, no, ref. No, ref, I don't want to take my free throws. I'm going to take it like a man. Let's just go to the other end of the court. No, that's stupid. That is stupid. So if your main argument is like, he had too many free throws, maybe just don't foul him then. If you're the Washington Wizards, why are you constantly seeing this guy get the ball and you're just like, oh, I got him. And you're just like slapping him. I don't understand the hate for this, but Bam Adebayo, 83 points. Unbelievable. Like, that's a moment where you're going to like remember where you were at whenever you got the notification or wherever you were watching the game. If you're an NBA person, I'm not big on the NBA. I don't watch it too much. But I'll watch the finals because that's whenever it gets interesting. But on a random Tuesday in March of 2026, I remember sitting in my dorm room, scrolling through Instagram and randomly seeing Bam Adebayo, 83-point game. I want to go back and watch the highlights so I can see exactly, what was going on. I've already seen some shorter stuff on Instagram, but I want to see full game highlights and stuff. I might even go back and watch the entire game because this is like such an incredible moment in history. Sliding him in second most points scored in one game all time. Okay, well, now get into what you actually care about most likely if you're here watching the ZigZag, the most controversial, the greatest WWE podcast of all time. That's what I'm calling it because, you gotta have some self-confidence or something like that. If you're watching this on YouTube, I appreciate you so you can sit here and watch my shining, glorious face. And you can see Dom and Sydney Sweeney and all my stuff in the background. It's so fun. But if you're listening to a podcast, I also appreciate you because you're sitting there listening to my probably obnoxious voice that I hate to hear myself, whenever I listen back to all these recordings and I'm editing videos and I just have to sit there and listen to the sound of my own voice. It sucks. It really sucks. But, I appreciate you for toughing it out. But let's just hop right into the WWE portion of this video. We're going to start it off with NXT from last night. Tatum Paxley versus Izzy Dame in a steel cage match is going on next week. They've had a ton of run-ins. Tatum obviously winning the Women's North American Championship from Izzy Dame. Izzy Dame. And, she has the Coling behind her, and they're kind of doing their own thing. And this feud has been great because I love Tatum Paxley. So them in a steel cage match is going to be very interesting, in my opinion. So I'm excited to watch that for next week. NXT, not a ton really happened. I only have one other thing to talk about. It's just Ethan Page. Talk about someone that is main roster ready. I mean, him and Sol as well, but she's kind of doing her thing, chasing the women's NXT championship. She's doing all this stuff. Ethan Page is just kind of in the main event scene, and he held the North American championship for a really long time, and he's kind of just doing his own thing. Let's just pull him up to the main roster and have him in the main event on the main roster on SmackDown or Raw. That's what I think. I think the dude's charisma is off the charts. I think the way he plays a heel is absolutely incredible. And Ethan is just so ready, and I can't wait for him to get the call up. That's all that really happened on NXT. Like I said, this week in wrestling, little bit of a filler episode, I'm not gonna lie. I actually didn't put down notes for SmackDown, so I had to go back and rewatch like highlights and like jot notes down for myself, because I don't remember too much happening. Besides, of course, the obvious thing that you're probably like, what, you don't remember this? It's like, I remember. I remember what happened. So, Charlotte and Alexa Bliss claimed the number one contendership by beating Kiana James and Julia. So, I'm fairly certain Charlexa is not going to end up just re-winning the championships. That's not going to happen. Not from the, what do they call themselves? The unbeatable forces. Oh man, what are they called? Lash Legend, Nia Jax. I think their name sucks so bad, so I always forget it. The irresistible forces. That is what it's called. So, like, the name's fine, the theme is fine. I'm not mad that they won the tag team championships, because I actually think that's going to be good for the women's tag division, because they're built up so strong, and I feel like they could do a really cool thing, kind of cool gimmick with these two, because Lash is so young, and you have Nia, who's pretty experienced, so I think it's pretty cool for them. But I hate it whenever Kiana loses, and I actually am starting to like Julia a lot. So I was kind of upset that they lost, but also at the same time I was like, well, shocker that Charlotte and Alexa won, which that's not a bash towards Alexa, that's a bash towards Charlotte. So they claim the number one contendership, but let's be honest, they're just gonna go and lose. I don't see the irresistible forces losing anytime soon, but I just wonder if they're going to start the breakup between Charlotte and Alexa sometime soon. I don't know. I wonder. The tag team gauntlet match was interesting for sure. Yes, so if you didn't see, they had a gauntlet match, which I don't think I've ever seen one, if I'm being honest, at least not that I remember. And they had two in 1 week, which was so random. They had one for the men's tag team over on SmackDown, and they had one for the women's IC title over on Raw, which was so random to get two in 1 week. But it's a cool, interesting kind of format that I don't hate. Definitely don't hate. What I enjoyed the most, I enjoyed that Los Garza got some love, and they scored wins over Fraxium and the Wyatt Six. That was pretty cool, because you don't ever get to see Los Garza do their thing. I think they're super impressive. They just don't have the fan interaction. They don't have that charisma that other tag teams have. But like, their in-ring skills are fantastic. So them getting that boost by beating Fraxium and the Wyatt Six, I just thought that was really cool for them, because I like them. I just wish they had more TV time. I wish they had a bit more of like character to them, because if they could match like a really good character set with their in-ring stuff, they would be incredible. They'd be incredible. But I thought the gauntlet match was cool. And then the winners being R Truth and Damian Priest was pretty funny. It was very short notice. Damian Priest like just gets walked up to backstage, and they're like, "Well, yo, you're a tag team with R Truth in this gauntlet thing." They come out last. They end up, beating Los Garza to win the match, and thought this was a pretty interesting tag team idea, because they have history, and it's not a good history, because R Truth, of course, tried to join the Judgment Day, and Damian Priest was very against it. But the work that they did together while he was trying to be in the Judgment Day, or he was in the Judgment Day, but he wasn't really. It was kind of just this really funny dynamic, because R Truth was like, "Oh yeah, I'm in the Judgment Day," and the Judgment Day are like full of a bunch of bad guys, and then it's R Truth. So now it's funny, because they had that bad past, and now they're like friends over on SmackDown and all the backstage segments. And Damian Priest is this very serious, I don't want to say uptight, but he's very serious. He sometimes, like, he points his nose in the other direction. And R Truth is R Truth, of course. So I think this is a fire tag team, just because they're so opposite, but also a little bit similar that it kind of just gives it this really cool dynamic. Now, I don't think they should just run R Priest or whatever they're going to call this, Priest Truth, or I don't know what they're going to do. But I think it's cool that on SmackDown you have a lot of, oh, this is Los Garza, this is the Wyatt Six, this is the, the MFTs, this is Fraxium. Like, these are like established tag teams, and the Motor City Machine Guns, can't forget them. And we haven't had like a, yo, these two random people just go and be a tag team. We haven't had that in a while. I like whenever they do that sometimes. I don't love it all the time. I feel like if you do it too much, it gets a little bit stale. But every once in a while, if you're like two random people, just go be in the tag division. I'm down. I'm down for it. So, cool idea. I don't think they're gonna win the tag titles, but if they do, that's pretty cool. I could actually see it happening. I could see it happening because the MFTs did get involved in the gauntlet match to screw over the Wyatt Six. So, maybe the Wyatt Six get involved in this match, and R Truth and Damian Priest make it to WrestleMania with the tag gold or something along that line. I don't really know what's going to happen, but I think it's just a cool opportunity for R Truth and Damian Priest. And people online are just like, well, Damian Priest is buried. This was your World Heavyweight champion holder at one time. Yep. And it's like, dude, everybody fluctuates in and out of the main event scene. It's like, he's not going to win the World Heavyweight Championship and just stay there for the rest of his career. That's not how it works. You go down and up and down and up and down and up. I do think Damian Priest will eventually win another world title. 100%. I love Damian Priest. I believe in Damian Priest. But you can't have him up there all the time. Like, you can't have him over on SmackDown. It's just like, yeah, he's in this feud now with Jacob and Randy and Drew and Cody, and they're doing their thing. You can't just throw Damian in there. He doesn't, like, fit this storyline that's going on right now. So him just matching up with R Truth to give him some TV time, some matches, all this stuff, I think is good for him. So I'm intrigued by this tag team for sure. If you had to live inside one video game world, what would it be? Pokemon. Stop the count. I mean, this is just the most simple answer of all time. Let's live in a world where your pets now have superpowers. Does that not sound sick? And also, you can catch all kinds of different pets, and you just own tons. You can just own like hundreds and hundreds of different pets just because you want to, and they all have different superpowers. That's me breaking it down super simple for people who don't really understand Pokemon that much, but I play it all the time. That would be sick. And also having Pokemon battles. And also at the same time, if you wanted to go off the show, let's just think about this. Ash Ketchum is 11 years old whenever he leaves to go on his journey, his adventure. And his mom is just like, yeah, you got it. Just go ahead. Not even worried about, like, I don't know, like child predators or like anything like that. She's literally just like, oh yeah, you're good. Because the world is so safe, but it's also not safe. But it's safe. The only thing that really happens is people try and steal your Pokemon, but those people really suck at it, aka Team Rocket. And there's some bad organizations, but they're not going after kids. And, you're looking at Ash, who's just jumping from island to island to island, just kind of doing his own thing, becoming this, like, Pokemon trainer, this Pokemon master. That's dope. I wish I could take my dog Clarice, and she just goes, and I wouldn't fight with her, obviously. I'd get some fighting Pokemon. She'd just be like, she couldn't sit on my shoulder because she's my really big dog. But she would just be with me at all times, just being like some moral support. She's like my Pikachu, but the Pikachu don't fight. So living inside a video game world is Pokemon. But like I was saying earlier, Ash just like goes from place to place. How does he make money? How does he make money? And it's not like, you don't see it in the show. Like, he doesn't like win a battle and they're like, oh, here's $300 for winning. That's not how it works. They're just going around to different Pokemon centers and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you can sleep here and we'll give you food. And it's like, oh, okay, sure, that's how that works. That's what I would pick, because that would be dope. Let me know down in the comments what you think, but I think my pick is pretty good. If I do have to pick one, though, like one show or game to live in, I'd have to go with Alola. You'd have to go to the Alola region. That's like living in Hawaii. I get to go live and train in Hawaii with my little Pokemon friends with all these like pets that have superpowers, like I was just saying. That'd be dope. You can't tell me that wouldn't be sick. And also the food that they show inside of the series, that's also looks goated. So yeah, I'm picking Pokemon. What do they plan to do with Johnny Gargano? He just got fed to Obafemi. I don't want him to get thrown into another tag team. So this one sucks because as I'm looking at it on SmackDown, I don't see a spot for Johnny Gargano. I don't see what they could do with him, and I don't want him to be in another tag team. I really don't. The stuff he did with DIY was fantastic. I love Tommaso Ciampa. I love Johnny Gargano. I loved their heel turn last year where they won the championships. I thought it was fantastic how you almost thought they were going to break up. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, Johnny Gargano just turned on his best friend Alex Shelley and the Motor City Machine Guns. Like, that was sick. That was such great storytelling. And now he's just laying around on boxes. He finally gets enough courage to go to the ring and challenge someone. And of course, he just gets destroyed by Obafemi. I don't want to see him in another tag team. I want to see singles Johnny G. And I feel like the best place for him to go. Now, y'all got to really hear me out on this. This is like, you take this with a grain of salt. If you think it's stupid, just tune me out. He could either win the U.S. title this year. He needs to start, building himself up in maybe a feud over on SmackDown and kind of take that path. Or what if he went and joined the Judgment Day? Now, I know I just said I don't want him to get thrown into another tag team. That's not a tag team. That's a faction. I feel like if Johnny Gargano was in there, he would help the Judgment Day as a whole. You'd also have Candice LeRae come into the Judgment Day as well, I guess. And here's the thing, you gotta hear me out. I just now thought of this, by the way. It would, I think, eventually lead to kicking out Liv and Dominic. So it keeps this rotating door of people in the Judgment Day going in and out. Now, I'm not saying they do it right now. I'm not saying like next week on Raw, you just see Johnny Gargano and they're just in the clubhouse. Just like, no. But if Johnny Gargano wanted a change of pace, change of scenery, send him over to Raw. I think he could do a lot of good over there. And Finn and Dom are going to be doing their own thing, which I'm going to get to in a second. Johnny Gargano could kind of look at the IC title and him and JD, even though I just said I don't want him to be in the tag team. Raw kind of needs the tag team help right now because Raw doesn't know how to book men's tag teams at all. I actually literally can't think of who the tag team champions are right now on Raw. Oh my gosh. Well, we have the New Day. Dude, who are the tag champions? I literally can't even. Tag champs, Raw, WWE. It's gonna. Oh yeah, the Usos. Right. I forgot it was the Usos because every time they come out, they don't have their titles. They just forget about them because they're also kind of in the main event scene right now because they're dealing with CM Punk and Roman Reigns and they're like kind of like a little side branch of that. And they're not focused on the tag team division at all. Why did we give it to the Usos just for them to not like defend it? They defended it against the Alpha Academy one time, which was a banger match. I'm not saying they're not good. They put on great matches. The Usos are like one of my favorite tag teams of all time. I think they're the greatest tag team of all time, mixed with the Hardy Boys and the New Day. They all kind of jump up around for me. But the Usos are great. I just feel like it's a little bit dumb for them to have the titles and then not put it on like mainstream TV, Raw, Netflix every single week. You know what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is Johnny Gargano goes to the Judgment Day or just goes over to Raw and is a single star going after the IC title with Penta. They'd put on great matches. He maybe has a feud over on Raw. or whatever. I just think the bridge with SmackDown and what has happened over there has been burned. It's been burned. I want to see him on Raw because I really like Johnny wrestling, and then I would basically I'd watch him every single week because sometimes I miss SmackDown and I got to rewatch it, but Raw I'm always there for usually. So I just want to see them do something with him. I don't want him to just be Johnny Depression for however long. The main event of SmackDown, we got Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre, which is great. Yay, it was a great match. Obviously Cody wins the championship, and I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad that Cody won. That is not why I'm mad. I'm mad because it's almost not fair to Drew McIntyre. If you can feel where I'm coming from, it's like Drew deserved to have a long reign with this title. He deserved to have a powerful reign. The way they booked him was just not fair. He had his tail tucked between his legs all 54 days he held the championship. It's not fair. Because Drew is like he's one of my favorites, so maybe it's biased. I really like Cody too. Again, I'm not mad that Cody is holding the championship whatsoever. I feel like Drew should have been the one that Randy dethrones at Mania. If you want to see someone like turn bad, like I think is what they want to do with Randy, where it's like, he brings back the punt. He starts to pull that trigger, like he used to. Do it against Drew and have people get behind you. Now it's going to be babyface versus babyface, and I don't know what's going to happen. Now I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about Cody versus Randy at Mania. That's going to cook. That is absolutely going to cook. But it's just weird. It's just weird to me that you would even give Drew the title for the 54 days. You gave him the title for 54 days to just, go beat up Sami Zayn? I don't know. I just want Drew to be in the main event scene and hold a championship. Now, again, I don't want him to hold it for like a year, an entire year. But I do want him to hold it for a decent amount of time and have a bunch of different matches with different people. That's what I want. And I want them to build him up like he's really strong, like they used to, because Drew McIntyre, if we're looking at it like literally, Drew McIntyre would kill almost everybody he would go up against. I mean, the dude's an absolute unit. So I just feel like the way he was booked is not fair. I don't mind Cody winning the championship to go face Randy at WrestleMania, but I wish better for Drew. If you had a finisher, what would it called and what would it be? Okay, well, I can't. Okay, so I'm gonna say this. I can't just steal the zigzag, and if it were to just be a zigzag, I would have to change the name, because that's stealing. That's straight up stealing a move. You gotta at least change the name a little bit. If I had a finisher, so I used to always whenever I was younger, I used to play with my hands, and the way I would mess with my hands or mess with a pencil actually was like the pulverizer. The pulverizer. So that one sticks out to me. I would want to do that. The only problem is I'm not that big of a guy. I mean I'm 6'3", 6'4" in shoes. I mean, if you want to get crazy, but I'm not huge, and I probably can't pick a bunch of people up. So I need to be some, on the mat. Maybe I hit a little flying move. I feel like the frog splash would be good for me. I like the zigzag. I would just have to call it something different. So the frog splash and the zigzag. I gotta have the super kick. 100%. I'm trying to be I'm trying to figure this out. What move could I do that would be different from other people's? Do you know what I could do? I've thought about this before. A springboard flying knee, like what Seth used to do, but I switch knees midair. So it's not like he just keeps his knee straight and then hits the person. I would want it to be like a springboard, and I UFC flying knee to the face. Like, that would be pretty sick. That kind of like combines the phenomenal forearm and, you know, the knee from Seth Rollins, and kind of Trick Williams, like a little bit what he does. But he does the same thing. He puts a knee up in the air and he flies into the person. I want it to like switch my knees and then hit them that way. That'd be pretty cool. But what would they all be called? What would the ZigZag be called if I had to change the name? I think it depends on what character I would play. Maybe I play like an Australian guy and it's called the Down Under. Now we're cooking. If I had a super kick, it's super kick. I can't change the name. That's not how it works. The flying knee though. The flying knee and the frog splash. I feel like the frog splash is just the frog splash. The 5-star splash, maybe I call it something different, like the cutter splash or the Corbin splash or something like that, like something cringy along those lines. But the flying knee thing that I would do, let's see. I feel like the podcast knee. I don't know, something stupid. If you have any like name ideas, please let me know. This is just me being stupid and me killing time, basically. But I haven't ever really thought about this. Like, I always just give it my list and I tell it to put in some random questions. So I don't actually look at these before I go. I like quick, like make sure like they're okay and they're not like anything like too stupid. But I don't really ever give my time to think about them. So I don't know. That's kind of my finishers. Moving over to Raw. We have Triple H's wet dream at the start of Raw. There is masked men everywhere. The Triple H wet dream is what I called it on my reactions over on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to check that out, it is ZigZag06 over on those platforms. But literally, it starts off with one masked guy running up on the table. It's Seth Rollins. And, you know, Mr. Pierce is like, well, dude, you're going to get attacked. Like, you shouldn't even be in the building or whatever. You're going to get yourself hurt. You're not cleared. And then just like 20 masked dudes just roll up into the ring. And they start like dipping and dodging and swerving around each other so they don't know which one is which. Just this is just screaming Triple H because he loves the masked storylines. And I do too. I like the masked stuff. But this was just like so funny because I was like, this is just Triple H's. He went to his happy place on this one. It was just so weird. And then obviously the strategy by Seth Rollins works. The Vision comes out. Austin Theory and Logan Paul are so damn funny together. And their promo was pretty funny when they're like just yelling at him and saying whatever. But obviously the masked man idea worked because Seth got away by putting his mask on and, you know, they chased the wrong people or something of that sort. So it just was very odd. The women's IC gauntlet match. This is what I was talking about earlier. We had 2 gauntlet matches within a week. That's pretty sick. And we started it off with Io Sky versus Lyra Valkyria, where Io ends up beating Lyra. Great match. Io then rolls up Raquel because, you know, Liv Morgan tries to get involved. Stephanie Vaquer pulls up, and that's cool because it kind of just builds up that feud going into Mania a little bit more. But the thing that was crazy to me, Raquel loses. She throws Io into the post outside. She hits her with a Tejana bomb on top of the apron, the ring apron. And who comes out? Ivy Nile. And if I had, like, I have a live reaction, like I just said over on my other platforms. Ivy's music hit, and I was like, oh, Io's going to kick out of this and beat her somehow. Like, that's where my mind immediately went. And Ivy sprints down, rolls her over, and 3 count pins her. I literally could not believe Ivy Nile won. I do not remember the last time Ivy Nile won a match. I couldn't tell you. Maybe she's won over on Main Event that I don't remember. But not on Raw. I don't remember the last time she won a Raw singles match. So that was cool to see her get a pin and kind of get her flowers. Kind of like what I was saying with Los Garza. People don't get the respect they deserve, probably. They actually get some love. They score some wins in this gauntlet match, which I thought was cool. I'm an Ivy Nile stan because I think she's incredible and she's super strong. And she's got a character built up in there, but WWE just hasn't let her show it yet, which is just a little bit unfortunate. And then Bayley and Ivy Nile put on a fantastic match in the middle of the gauntlet. Ends up, Bayley beating Ivy, and then out comes Asuka. Bayley beats Asuka to become the number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship. So it was a really fun match. It honestly didn't take up as much time as I thought they were going to. It was only probably like, besides Io versus Lyra, I feel like that was like 8 minutes. Everything else was like 5-6-ish minutes, take it or leave it. And then of course the Asuka one was a little bit longer to end it off, but it was really cool. I enjoyed it. Danhausen curses the OG El Grande Americano. The best part about this backstage segment was Rayo and Bravo Americano at the very end. So you see OG El Grande get cursed. Him and Danhausen have this funny little moment, and you see those two in the background, like sliding in through a door, and they kind of like Pink Panther walk and start like tiptoeing towards him. Like you see it right at the very end. I thought it was so funny, and I just want to talk about those two because I don't know who they are under the mask. I've heard people say it's Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, which, I mean, it can't be them because Rayo and Bravo have been these amazing wrestlers for so long and they have all this history and all that stuff. But if it is these people, I'm just going to go off that assumption. With what they have been given by the WWE, they're doing such a fantastic job. They really are like one of my favorite parts of Raw right now, just because it gives you some comedic relief with these two. It's like the new El Grande is doing his thing. He's being pushed kind of okay, kind of well. He's at least getting like some wins in matches, and he's doing great over on AAA. But you have these two who are just giving you this comedic afterthought every single time they're in the ring. You're like, oh, what are these weirdos doing here? And then you're like, hold on, these guys are kind of fire. So they're doing a great job. But since Danhausen cursed OG El Grande, I was like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. The new El Grande Americano replaces OG El Grande, which I don't know what happened. I think that was the curse. It was the Cursehausen. And then we got Penta versus the new El Grande, and Penta retains with a springboard Mexican destroyer, which just looks insane. And the new Grande, again, killing it with what he's been given. And so I'm so excited to get the mask versus mask at WrestleMania, which apparently they're doing just a straight up match next week on Raw. New Grande versus OG Grande. I'm fairly certain though it's going to end in like a DQ of some sort, and this is a WrestleMania main event. Just please put this at WrestleMania. It's going to be awesome. The fans are going to love it. Let's just leave it at that. If you could time travel for one day, would you go to the past or go to the future? The past is pretty boring, in my opinion. I would maybe go back to like, if I were to go to the past, I'd maybe go to like 1990, 1980, something like that, just to see like what the like teenager, like, college scene was like back then, just for the day. But if I were to go to the future, I feel like I would rather go to the future. I would go like 50 years ahead, and I would jot down as much betting stuff as possible so I could bet the house on a certain person winning or whatever. And I could, but other than that, I would just kind of want to see where our future lies, because right now it's, things are kind of weird at the moment. I'm not going to get into all that stuff, but you got like certain people disagreeing with each other, and you got wars going on, and people think we're on the brink of war. I don't really know. I don't really, pay attention, but I want to see how we work out of this and where we actually end up in 50 years. maybe I teleport and all of a sudden I end up like just floating through space for a day because the world's been blown up or something like that. Maybe a meteor has come and just smashed into the earth and they dinosaured us and now nobody's alive. Like who knows? I literally don't know what happened with the future. I know what's happened in the past, but I don't know about the future. So that intrigues me more. But definitely I would go in there and I would write down, like all the past NFL players, NFL, winners for the Super Bowl, all the past whatever. I'd put down a huge parlay. I'd bet all my money on it and I'd win and I'd be a millionaire. Be great. Danhausen does an ad and says, buy my shirt or you are cursed. And people are already catching on to the you are, and he puts his microphone up in the air and everybody yells cursed. It's awesome. But Danhausen came out just to do an ad. That's all he did. He was just like, oh, you should buy my t-shirt or you're cursed. It was funny. I liked it. I actually am thinking about next time I were to get a piece of apparel from WWE, I might get Danhausen shirt just because I think it's really, really funny. I'm waiting for kind of a new design though. Like I know the teeth thing is his thing, but I want one like without teeth. I don't know. But his shirts are hilarious. And I don't want to be cursed, so I need to go ahead and get to it and buy his shirt. Oh, this is what we've all been waiting for. You knew this was going to be on here. It finally happened. It finally happened. The Judgment Day have broke off Finn Balor. Last week, Finn screws Dom. In a backstage segment this week on Raw, Dom was like, where is Finn? I need to find Finn, like all this stuff. And he goes out to the ring and he calls him out. And Finn for a sec is trying to defuse the situation. And then he's like, maybe your dad was right. And that's whenever Dom shoves him, Finn turns around, he hits him with the Pele kick, just like he did in NXT Black and Gold. So sick. Shades of the past for Finn. Every time he's turned on someone else, that's kind of what he's done. The Pele kick. Or, of course, whenever he turned on Damian, he hooked the leg. But we're getting babyface Finn now. And I cannot tell you how happy I am for this feud. Dirty Dom. Dirtiest, heel Dom. We're getting that versus the babyface Finn Balor, which we've been looking for a long time. And the best thing about this is like Finn, of course, gets tons of cheers, but also Dominic gets just the hell booed out of him at the end of this segment. And the full Judgment Day turns on Finn. This is what I'm surprised at JD McDonough. That was more of a turn for me because I was like, well, I wonder where JD's going to side. Like, I wonder if he just won't be involved in the attack and then he's kind of just going to choose his side. But JD saved Dom. He exploded out of the corner and just absolutely mollywopped Finn Balor. And that was the most surprising part for me. And he backs up Dom in the Judgment Day and he absolutely flatlined Finn. And then, Dom gets the bell hammer and the hit that he gave to Finn with the bell hammer looked insane. I thought this whole segment, like we all knew it was coming. Like this wasn't like a big shocker, but I thought the way they did this segment was really fun. I thought it was really good as well. And I've been saying this feud is going to feed families, literally. After that, we got Obafemi versus Rusev, and Oba just kind of dominates Rusev, but at least they gave Rusev some offense. It kind of sucks because I really like this pairing, and I said this could be a WrestleMania main event, and it sucks that Oba just kind of dominated and won, but at least Rusev got some offense in. I get it. I get the reason you can't have Rusev win or have Rusev close to winning, because then like Dominic has beat Rusev and Penta has beat Rusev. And I'm pretty sure Ludwig Kaiser also maybe picked up a win against Rusev before he randomly disappeared. I don't know where he went. Who knows where he's at. But if you had Oba lose to Rusev, it would kind of like start that chain effect where it's like, well, you know, Oba almost lost to Rusev, and Rusev was beaten by Dominic Mysterio. So does that mean Dominic could beat Oba, or could Penta beat Oba, or things like that? If you were suddenly given $10 million, first thing I'm buying. Now, here's what I'm going to say. The easy answer is I'm going to put it in stocks and bonds, and I'm going to let it grow, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put it in my brokerage account. Yeah, of course I'm going to do all that. But the first item, like the first actual thing I'm going to buy, I would probably buy myself like all new like equipment, like streaming equipment. I feel like I don't really like want tons of things. I'm perfectly fine like with my current situation. I of course pay off my college debt. That's probably the big thing. But I mean, if we're looking at just fun stuff, like if you want the fun answer where it's not just like pay off college, give money to my parents, give money to my sister, whatever, give money to charity. You want the fun answer. I'm gonna buy all new equipment. I'd buy another new monitor. I'd buy a new microphone. I'd buy a new camera. I'd buy a fancy light kit. I don't know. I'm not really that fun. I'd buy a bunch of Pokemon cards. I would end up buying like a really expensive Pokemon card, most likely. Because that would be sick. Like I'm talking like maybe like like the Rayquaza that's worth like $200,000 or whatever it is. I want that one. That'd be pretty cool. So I'm pretty boring. I'm sorry. I'd maybe buy another flag from Temu that's like $13. I'd do that. But other than that, can't really tell you. If you were given $10 million, let me know down below what you would buy. Not including, giving it to charity, your parents, your sister's grandma. Wait, that's just your grandma. Your girlfriend's grandma or family, whatever. Not including that, stocks and bonds. Tell me the first fun item you would buy. We're getting Roman Reigns live next week on Raw. That's going to be interesting because I am fairly certain he's going to come out and be like, you talked about my dad. I'm happy your dog is dead or something stupid like that, because that's kind of how Roman Reigns rolls. And CM Punk still did not apologize for what he said on Raw, talking about how he was going to bury Roman next to his father, which was harsh, but I get it. It was good that he said that because it's just elevating the feud more. And it's just adding fire. We're just adding fire, scooping the coal in. So now we're going to get CM Punk versus Roman Reigns live again on the mic, which every single promo segment between the two of them have been absolute cinema. So I'm not mad about it. I wonder what he's going to say in regards to the I'm going to bury you next to your father thing. Then to end Raw, CM Punk and the Usos get into it because the Usos, of course, are expecting an apology because they just were like, you just disrespected a family member like really harshly. We want an apology. And again, this is just showing that Jimmy Uso is better on the mic than Jay is, because Jay was just sitting there screaming and just acting all angry about it. And Jimmy was the one that was like more of reason, but he was more like, you're going to give us an apology right now. Stern, but giving off a very good promo. And CM Punk, being CM Punk, was like, no, Roman Reigns is a douchebag. He doesn't respect me, whatever. I get it. I feel like they're almost trying to set up CM Punk to be the heel in this match, but I don't know if that's going to work or not. It's kind of just going to be babyface versus babyface. I would think. I wonder what side people are going to end up taking whenever it's all said and done. But to end it off, the Usos attack CM Punk. I forget if it's just like a super kick or whatever, because they're just going to walk out, and Punk called them a bunch of young boys, which was kind of crazy. And, Big Jim doesn't take that very nicely. So he gave him a little whack in the face. And it was funny because CM Punk like went down on the ground. He had like the camera, the boom mic could pick him up a little bit. And he was like, yeah, I deserved that. Yeah, I deserve that, which is kind of funny. But this is almost like reviving the OG bloodline a little bit, where it's like you've like the Usos haven't been involved with Roman in such a long time. Now it's like they're now re-siding on the exact same side, which I thought was kind of interesting. Dominic on Instagram. Let's go see what he said. So if you didn't see, like, whenever the Judgment Day destroyed Finn Balor, I mean, you had, everybody beating up on him, and then Dom hit him with one frog splash. JD got the chair, hit him in the stomach, and then put the chair on top of Finn, and Dom hit another frog splash onto the chair, onto Finn, which in WWE standards, that hurts the person on the bottom, doesn't hurt the person flying. This person, his name is Paul Wowzer Graham, says, wouldn't that hurt Dom just as much? Dom slides up and replies to this person and says, no, because my mustache gives me magical eagle powers. Again, I don't understand how people can hate this guy. That's hilarious. There's not that many people who go into the Instagram comment sections or goes on Twitter and replies to just random people who are saying, like, whatever. Like, this guy, it only been, the likes are only 545 likes. Like, it's not like this was exploding all over Instagram. Dom just randomly came across this and was like, no, my magical eagle powers for my mustache. I just thought it was funny. I love it whenever people go into Instagram comments and quote some funny stuff to back themselves up. It was cool. This is our last question, besides getting to the 2K26 overalls. If you had to join a faction, which one would you choose? Do one past, do one current. Interesting. A past faction. I mean, you gotta say DX, right? DX at their prime would have been awesome. I just walk around, just suck it all the time. That'd be sick. I love the green colors. The Generation X is legendary. So I'm gonna say them for past. One faction right now. I mean, you look at the Judgment Day. There's not too many like factions at the moment. I'm gonna just say the Judgment Day. I mean, that's where my boy Dom is. You got Liv and Roxanne and Raquel and JD. I'm kind of rocking with all of them. Like, they're all kind of my favorites right now. So I'll say a Judgment Day. That'd be pretty sick. Whenever I went there, though, I would probably change their theme music back to The Other Side by Alter Bridge. That's just the one complaint I have. So what I am going to tell you is that I'm going to do the Raw roster right now and the SmackDown roster right now. I'm not going to do any of the DLC people, any of the extra legends, all that kind of stuff. The only legends we are going to be talking about are the top 10 rated characters. So, the people in the high 90s, basically. We're going over the top 10 because I feel like that's pretty important in context with the game. But other than that, we're going to keep it Raw and SmackDown. So, starting us off, we have AJ Lee. AJ Lee is at an 88. She's currently your Intercontinental Champion. I don't hate this. I feel like it might be a bit too high comparatively to other girls, but she's the first one I'm looking at. Like, I haven't looked at any of these, so this is kind of just my first reaction. So I feel like an 88 is good because she's the IC champion, but it might be a touch high. Maybe I'm thinking like an 86, but an 88 is pretty fair. AJ Styles is an 88. Excuse me. AJ Styles is at least a 90. It was his last year in WWE. He was the tag champ. He was going up against, all these different people, putting on fantastic matches. An 88 is too low for AJ Styles. And I understand, like, this might be a little bit of, kind of his past is maybe maybe it's his past that's kind of influencing me to put him up this high. But honestly, no, like a 90 or 91 is where I think he should be. He's too low. Akira Tozawa's a 68. I would say, I think this is too low. I feel like compared to other years, yeah, Kira's a 68, but he's kind of been cooking. I mean, he had a tag team title match. They almost won. He's actually picked up a lot of wins this year. Now, I'm not saying he should be like an 80, but I feel like Akira Tozawa should at least be a 72. Like a 72 seems pretty fair. Austin Theory in 82. I agree with this just because, he was injured all year. Hasn't won a ton of matches and done too much stuff. Maybe it's a bit low, but I think an 82 is pretty fair. Asuka's at a 91. Fair. Asuka's fantastic. Won the tag gold. Cool. I'm perfectly fine with a 91. Bayley is at an 89. Okay, excuse me. So Bayley's an 89 and AJ Styles is an 88. 2K. What are we doing? Do we even watch what's going on? I mean, this is insane. Bayley an 89. I'm not even mad that she's an 89. I think it's a little high. She didn't even go to WrestleMania this year. Obviously got taken out by Becky Lynch. She's put on good matches, but I feel like an 89 is still too high, especially for right now. It's supposed to be, this isn't like this isn't like a 2017, 2018 Bayley or whatever. This is right now Bayley. I feel like an 89 is too high. I'd give her like an 87. Becky Lynch, 94, 100%. That's correct. Moving on. Bronson Reed in 88. Assuming in my mind, for the rest of this video, I'm just going to pretend AJ Styles is a 91 because that's just the worst rating I've ever seen on here. Bronson being an 88, I'm not necessarily mad at because he's kind of been this enforcer for the division. He beat Roman Reigns in an Australian street fight. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I think 88 is pretty fair. Braun Breaker being a 90, yeah. Fought for the, World Heavyweight Championship all year, was in the main event scene, was this absolute killer, built up like crazy, had the IC title for a while. I mean, yeah, 90's fair. Brutus Creed, 77. Haven't seen him on TV in a while. I feel like this might even be too high, sadly, because I do like him. But, 77, whatever. It's fine. Chad Gable in 81. It sucks. It sucks to say this, but he was hurt all year. I love the stuff he's doing, but I think an 81 is fair, potentially even too high, which I hate to say. Maybe an 80. He's probably an 80, but an 81 is fine. Cruz del Toro, he's barely been on TV. 73 is fine. Charlotte Flair, 93, this is way too high. She should be like a 70. She's terrible, but she gets pushed to the moon. So 93 is just absolutely unfathomable. Fathom. I'm full of fathom. I can't say that word. That's insane. A 93 is unfathomable. Without fathom. It's like the Megamind. It's like the Megamind scene where he can't say it either. Without fathom. Unfathomable. Gosh, that's tough. But a 93 is just insane. She won the tag titles this year and she won the Royal Rumble. Freaking congrats. I don't care. She deserves to be like, she doesn't deserve to be rated over AJ Styles, who's 5 points below her. So screw that. She's like an 85 at most. CM Punk, 94, makes sense. World Heavyweight Champion. I have no problems with that. Damian Priest in 87. I like that. He was the World Heavyweight Champion for a little bit. Right? Was that this year? I don't remember. He was World Heavyweight Champion at one point. He had a pretty solid year this year, just in feuds and whatnot. So I think an 87 is a little generous, maybe, but I still think it's pretty good. Dexter Lumis in 82. Yeah. All the tag team guys are going to be like low 80s, which I'm perfectly fine with. I actually got gold this year, so cool. Fine with me. Dragon Lee a 79? 79 for Dragon Lee's a bit low. I feel like Dragon Lee's like he was a tag team guy. He's doing his own thing with Gunther right now, and he was with AJ Styles. They won tag gold, and a 79? I feel like he's at least an 82. Like, he should at least be on par with Dexter Lumis at an 82. I feel like Dragon Lee's an 84. For me personally, I think this is way too low. Dirty Dominic Mysterio is an 87. Now, of course, I'm biased. He should be a 99 because he's the greatest Mysterio, greatest luchador, greatest WWE fighter of all time, if we're being honest. But an 87 to me is fine. I still think it's a bit low. I would have put him not at a 90, but he is the AAA Mega Champion. He's doing the stuff over there. He's been the IC title holder all year until, last week. I feel like he's potentially a 90, easily an 89 though. Drew McIntyre, 93, 100% agree. Congratulations. That's spot on. El Grande Americano. So this is the new El Grande, because I believe the original should be right underneath this. El Grande Americano in 85? Sure. It's fine for me. I think an 85 is pretty fair for him. The original El Grande Americano, he just returned. But I guess he also won his match at WrestleMania against Rey Fenix. That's kind of a pick-me-up. I think 85 for both of them is fine. There's nothing that I can sit here and bash on the Raiders for giving them an 85. So I think that's pretty fair. Eric is a 78 tag team guy. Sure, that's totally fine. Finn Balor, 88. Hold on a second. Finn Balor is rated above Dominic Mysterio. Dom is the AAA Mega Champion and held an IC title all year and beat Finn Balor for said IC title, pinned Finn Balor. And it's not like Finn went out and was like winning a ton of matches. That is a horrible rating. Now, I'm of course, I'm not saying Finn shouldn't be an 88. I actually think an 88 or 89 is fair. But if you're going to put Finn Balor at an 88, you should put Dominic Mysterio at an 89. That's just insane. Gunther's a 93. I think this potentially might even be a little low. I think he could probably be a 85. He's been built up as a killer this year. But I'm fine with 83, potentially a little low. Ivar's a 79. I like that he's rated slightly above Eric because he's kind of like the more loved, more active one between the two. But a 79 is still fair. Ivy Niles, a 76. I think this is too low. But again, I like her a lot, so it might be a little biased. But she wasn't on TV for a while, which I don't like. But at the same time, the moment she was on TV, on main event, she did well. I guess she didn't get a ton of wins, which sucks. She did just pin Io, though, so think about that. But I think a 76 is fair. I would have put her at a 78 or 79, but Io Sky 93, I think, is pretty spot on. Pretty spot on for Io Sky at 93. JD McDonough at a 79? That is way too low. That's way too low. JD is at least an 83 or 84. I mean, come on. They won tag gold. He even did like a little bit of single stuff here and there. He's part of the Judgment Day, which I think just elevates them all at to a certain extent. A 79? That is crazy to me. That is crazy. He would definitely, in my eyes, JD McDonough is an 83 or 84. Javon Evans is rated a 78. The problem I have with the Raiders for the 2K games is that all the NXT people, they're like, oh, they just have to be like 10 notches below where you think they should be. So Javon being a 78, I get it, but he has been on Raw for a little bit. He's been cooking. I would at least put him I mean, he qualified for the Elimination Chamber too. Like, you got to think about that. 78's too low. I would give Javon at least an 83. 83 or 84. He's right up there with JD McDonough. Jey Uso 91. I get it. He won the heavyweight championship this year. Has been in the main event scene, won tag gold. I mean, what else am I supposed to say? Like, a 91 for how his year went is fair. Do I think it's too high, based off of everything else? Off of in-ring and promo stuff and all that? Yes. I think he should be below Dominic, but at the same time, with how he's been built up, 91 is pretty fair. If I were to change this, I would put him at an 89, but that's just me. Jimmy Uso, 86, ridiculous. In my opinion, he's better than Jay. I like him better than Jay, I always have, but he doesn't have the accolades to back it up. So I think Jay being higher than him, considering the years that they have, makes sense. But I still feel like Jimmy should at least be in 87 or 88. Joaquin Wilde, 72, perfectly fine with me. Kairi Sane, 84. This is pretty fair. Personal bias, I'd bump her up a few points, maybe like an 86. But I think an 84 is pretty fair, considering she's kind of just the backup to Asuka, and Asuka's at a 91. So, she at least got some love. I'm happy they weren't just like, who's this Kairi Sane girl? 79, or, whatever they do. So I think an 84 is pretty fair. Kofi Kingston, 83, that hurts my soul. That absolutely crushes my heart. Because it's not that it's a bad rating, it's that it's right. It's correct. He hasn't done anything all year. He became tag champ at WrestleMania. That was cool, I guess, but the match was not very good. Other than that, he hasn't done anything all year. So in 83 is pretty spot on. If this was like, 2011 Kofi, this should be like a 90. That dude was the GOAT, but with how his past year went, an 83 is pretty fair. LA Knight at a 89? I feel like LA Knight's a 90. I feel like he's a 90. I think he gets over that threshold. Now, he won the U.S. title at the beginning of the year twice, I think, right? Or he immediately won it back, I guess. Which that's helping him. He's been in the main event scene. He's he's always there. He was fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship. Over with the fans. I mean, we can't bump him to a 90. Can't bump him to a 90 there? I don't know. Liv Morgan at 92. This is too low, in my opinion. Now, I guess she was hurt for most of the year, but, she went into the year women's heavyweight champion. She won tag gold. Then she got injured, but then she came back to, a roar of applause, basically. So I think she deserves a 94. 94, in my opinion. Logan Paul is a 90. Oh, that's going to piss so many people off. That's hilarious. But the thing is, wait, so he's rated above Bronson Reed and the same as Braun Breaker. Like, this is right, but also I feel like it's wrong. I feel like you got to put Braun 1 point ahead of Logan. And I feel like then Bronson Reed and Logan Paul should be the same. So maybe Logan's a touch high. He might just be a touch high, but I don't hate him being a 90 either, because I think he deserves it. But let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Lyra Valkyria in 84. I mean, she was the first ever IC title holder. She had a great feud with Becky Lynch. She's been doing the stuff with Bayley. I feel like an 84 is pretty correct for Lyra. Maxine Dupree, a 78? That's too low. That's too low, in my opinion. I feel like she won the IC title. She got built up a little bit more. She's now in this feud with Natty, which is just whatever because it's Natty. But I feel like 78 is too low. I think she's at least an 80. Just because she won the IC title, I feel like it bumps her up to almost not to Lyra's level. But I think at least to an 83. maybe Maxine's an 84 and Lyra should be an 86. I feel like that would maybe be better. Naomi at a 92. Thank you for giving her some love. Wins Money in the Bank, wins the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. Fantastic. Great rating at a 92. I'm so sorry. Natalia's an 86. Be so for real. Be so for real. She's like a 75 at best. I think the problem is sometimes they look at this and they're like, oh, but they're such a legend and they used to be so good, so it's going to influence the rating. And then on some of them, it's like, well, they weren't good this year, so 70. And it's like, I don't know about all that. So it seems like bias depending on person to person. But Natalya didn't do anything all year. She wrestled in AAA a few times as Natty, and that means she's a girl boss and a badass or something like that. But an 86 is so freaking high. I don't even see how you could give her a 90. She didn't do anything all year except for get into this feud with Maxine. And actually, technically, that was at the start of this year, at the start of 2026. Of course, I'm talking about all of 2025, but dude, she's like a 79 in my opinion. Nikki Bella 88. So Nikki Bella's is the same rating as AJ Styles and above Dominic Mysterio. Are we on heroin? We have to be. Whoever is making this list is actually on something. Some of these ratings are absolutely horrendous, especially going back to back with Natty and Nikki Bella. She deserves, she didn't do anything. She randomly showed up. She challenged for the World Heavyweight Championship, got destroyed at, I believe it was Survivor Series, and hasn't done anything since then. 80 at best. If you want to give her they're trying to give her this little legend boost, but then if you're going to give her that legend boost, say 2015 Nikki Bella or something like that, like you do with other people, don't let that influence this year's rating because she does not deserve an 88 whatsoever. She maybe deserves an 80. I would give her an 82. Omos at an 80. Now he does a bunch of stuff in AAA. So I understand it from that, but from the WWE standpoint, that's a bit high. But I'm not mad enough to change it. So 80's fine. Otis at a 75, too low. Too low for me. I think Otis is at least an 80. He challenged the Usos for the titles. Now, granted, they didn't do that much other than that. So I guess a 75 is probably pretty okay. I would maybe bump it to like a 77, 78. Pat McAfee's an 80. Oh, okay, you gotta be kidding me. I love Pat. If you wanted to do like Superstar Pat or something like that and give him a higher rating, that's fine. But we're talking about the sports announcer, Pat McAfee, who is my GOAT. Greatest punter of all time. But giving him an 80, I guess he fought Gunther, which is cool, but he lost like a lot. An 80's too high. Come on now. He probably deserves to be like a 75 for being for real. Penta's at an 84. Too low. Too low. Penta deserves to be at least the same level as Dominic Mysterio. Okay, now granted, I think Dom was too low. So on those remarks, Penta should at least be an 87, 88. I feel like an 84 is too low. I mean, I've seen some, like, we're putting Penta below Natalya and Nikki Bella. Are we serious? Like, that's unreal. We're putting Penta below, like, I hate to do this, we're putting Penta below Finn Balor? And he's below both El Grande Americanos, who I love dearly. But Penta does not deserve to be at an 84. He deserves to be in 87, 88, 89, somewhere in that range. An 84 is a terrible rating. Pete Dunne, haven't seen him in a while. 76 is fine. Raquel Rodriguez, an 86, makes sense to me. I feel like they got that pretty spot on. Rhea Ripley, 96, 100%. Congratulations. This is probably your best rating so far. I think she's probably the top-rated woman, and an 86 fits her quite well. Roxanne Perez actually got an 85, which I like this rating. She deserves to get her flowers, so 85 works for me. Rey Mysterio, 84. What has he done all year? And they didn't give him the legend cheese either. I feel like, well, he's won some matches and done whatever. I feel like an 84 is fine, actually. Seth Rollins, 94. This is too low. This might sound insane, but that's too low. And I might just be a Seth Glazer, which I am. But an 84, I mean, a 94 just seems a bit low for me. I feel like he should be a 96. He should be up there with the Romans and Cody's. Just my opinion. Sheamus in 86. He didn't wrestle a ton last year, but it's still Sheamus, and he put on some great matches, so 86 is fine. Stephanie Vaquer, 92. I don't like that she's on the same level as Liv Morgan, because I don't think she is. Like I said, I think Liv should have been higher, but I think Stephanie at a 92 is fine. I maybe would bump her down to like a 91 or a 90, but Xavier Woods, 82, hurts my heart, but yeah, that's probably true. Moving over to SmackDown, Alba Fire is a 77. That seems pretty fair to me. Aleister Black, an 84. I'd put him up a little bit higher. I mean, he beat up Damian Priest a good few times. He's been involved, like in the almost main event scene, like that upper mid card area. I'd give him like an 86. Alex Shelley, an 80, I think is perfect. Alexa Bliss, 87. Oh, a bit low. My roommate's Alexa is yelling at me because every time I say Alexa, that thing perks up. So it's annoying. An 87, I think, is a little low. I'd maybe put her on 88, 89. Angel from Los Garza to 72 is fine. Angelo Dawkins is a 78? That's horrible. He should, I mean, at least an 80. I wonder where they put Montez Ford then. Because if Montez Ford isn't at least like he should be at least be like an 84 if we're being honest. But a 78 for Angelo Dawkins is way too low. I'd put him at an 83. I like him better than like Dexter Lumis, who's in 82 right now. And they actually won tag gold. Like it would make sense for him to be an 82 or 83. Apollo Crews at a 70. Cool. Axiom at a 75. That makes sense. They haven't done too much. They've gotten to show themselves off a little bit, so they're not like super low, but you know that they're like the low tag division, so it makes sense. BFAB at a 67 makes sense. Berto at a 72. Where'd they put Angel? Oh, they also put him at a 72. That's fine. They're at least being consistent with the tag teams, I feel like, between the partners. Bailey at an 89. Oh, they have Bailey on here twice. Yeah, I guess because she was on SmackDown and Raw. Like I said earlier, I think it's too high for what she's been doing. Bianca Belair is a 94. That's a little bit insane. That is a little bit insane in my opinion. She wrestled at WrestleMania and got hurt, which isn't her fault, but she's been hurt all year. Like she hasn't done anything because she's been hurt. I feel like that affects the ratings of other people. It definitely affects, she hasn't been on TVs. I hate to say it because I do like Bianca, but a 94 is too high. It just is. She didn't win a championship all year. I guess she was the tag champ to start it off, but she immediately lost it into 2025. A 94 is too high. I'm sorry. They just built her up to be so strong, so it's like hard to put her in the 80s, but having her ranked above Liv Morgan is downright disrespectful. And above like AJ Styles as well. That's why AJ is too low. I mean, they put an 88 is just ridiculous. That's the one I still can't get over. I'd put her at like a 91. Candice LeRae is next. We have her at a 71. That seems pretty fine to me. Carmelo Hayes at an 84. Yeah, he won the mid-card championship. I think I'd like to see him up a little bit higher, kind of closer to like the 86 range. Chelsea Green is next at an 85. This seems pretty fitting considering like what her character has done, but again, won the United States Championship 2 times, was the mixed tag champion. feel like that she's got the accolades to be a little bit higher. I would have put Chelsea. I feel like she fits in 88 really well. Chris Sabin is the same as a tag partner. He's at an 80. That's totally fine. Cody Rhodes is an 95. Won the belt, the WWE Championship twice last year. Held it all year. Had great matches. I would almost give him like a 96, 96, 97, but 95 seems pretty fitting. Next, we have Elton Prince. He's at a 71, which is fine. Sadly, he's been hurt all year. So I actually wonder where they're going to put Kit Wilson, because I think Kit should be way above a 71. But not really, because he's kind of just like this character that gets beat up all the time. But should at least be a little bit higher, so I'm excited to see what they do with him. Eric Rowan, Big Red, gets an 80. I agree with this. I 100% agree with that. That's awesome. That's good work from these Raiders to give Big Red his flowers at an 80. Julia's an 86. That seems a bit high. It makes sense. Because she's, the United States champion. She's been holding it for a while, but I feel like she still shouldn't be above Chelsea Green. I feel like Julia should be like on that Lyra Valkyria level. Like they put her at an 84. I feel like an 84 is a bit more fair for Julia. And it's not because Julia isn't fantastic. I feel like if you're just going off of the 2K ratings, like I feel like an 86 is a little high comparatively where you put other people. Ilya Dragunov's an 85. This is way too low. He should at least be an 87 for sure. Jacob Fatu, an 88. They built him up to be really strong, so I don't know why we gave him an 88 on the same level as Finn Balor, who's been pinned a million times as of last year. So feel like Jacob Fatu should be a 90. Jade Cargill, an 88. I feel like makes sense. Could be just like a touch low, but I feel like an 88 seems to fit pretty well. JC Mateo is an 82. Be so for real. Be so for real. Now, I understand they build up, the MFTs and JC Mateo and all these people to look really strong, but what has he done all year? He's done absolutely nothing. And like people like Maxine, who've at least won an IC title, are rated way lower than an 82. I feel like JC Mateo's like a 76. He hasn't done anything since he got here in the WWE. Joe Gacy in 82 makes sense. He's the same as Dexter Lumis. Johnny Gargano, hurts my heart. 76. I feel like Johnny deserves to be higher because, but he hasn't really done anything all year, which sucks. So maybe a 76 is probably the correct place to put him. Jordan Grace at an 81 actually is pretty high considering she just moved up from NXT. So I think that's actually a pretty fair score considering every time they do an NXT rating, they're like, yo, let's just dock it by 1,000,000 points. So 81's pretty fair, but like if I'm being legit, I feel like she should be at least like an 84. Kevin Owens at an 87 sucks because he's been hurt all year, but an 87 seems pretty fair. Lash Legend in 81. Again, someone who moved up from NXT. She did just win Tag Gold, but I guess that was in 2026. So I think an 81 is pretty fair. Montez Ford is an 80. It's so disrespectful to the Street Profits. Angelo Dawkins should be like an 81 or 82, and Montez should be like an 84. Michin at an 82. Listen, I like Michin, but an 82 is really high. You have BFAB at a 67, and you have Michin at an 82, and they've been built up almost like the exact same character. Just going and getting destroyed by Jade every week. I guess Michin has more of a mean streak than BFAB, but that doesn't mean she's an 82. She's ranked ahead of Maxine Dupree. She's ranked ahead of Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. That is lobotomizing. Are we serious? Michin's like a 75 at most. Nathan Frazier at a 76. I guess that's fine. Nikki Cross a 73. I guess is also okay. Nia Jax at an 88 does make sense. Don't understand how she's a point ahead of Dominic, but that's whatever. And she's also the same level as AJ Styles. Again, like I'm gonna keep bringing up throughout this video. That's just crazy. And it's not because Nia's too high. I think her rating's fine, but Dominic and AJ definitely should have been bumped up in comparison. R Truth an 80. I love R Truth, so it might be a bit high, but I like the 80. I like the 80 for R Truth. Randy Orton at a 92 that's got to be too low, right? But also at the same time, he's got like the 09, 2013 Orton, like, so I guess the 92 isn't too terrible for the year he had last year. I maybe would have gone up a couple points, like a 93 or 94. I feel like a 93 would make sense because he's on the same kind of plane as Drew McIntyre at the moment. So, but I think the rating, he's at least in the ballpark. Roman Reigns 95, that works for me. Sami Zayn in 89. He won the U.S. Championship. Defended it a lot in fairness. Other than that, what did he do? He just sat around backstage and complained. This is too high. He's ahead of AJ Styles, which is absolutely ridiculous. So I feel like Sami Zayn deserves to be like an 86. Shinsuke Nakamura, 86. That's too high. I understand he won the U.S. title, but he did nothing with it. Not his fault, of course, but the way he was booked, feel like he should be like an 84. Solo Sikoa, an 85. Feel like it's pretty fair. Pretty fair, but, he's kind of built up to be more of an enforcer character, so I feel like you could get away with like an 87 for him. The Miz at an 80 hurts my soul, but it's actually kind of nice giving him an 80 considering the year he had last year, but love the Miz, so I wish it was higher, but obviously it makes sense to put him at an 80. Tiffany Stratton, 91. That's low. That is low. She held the women's not heavyweight, world championship all year. So I feel like a 91 is low considering she's ranked below Liv and Stephanie Vaquer. Tiffany should be like a 93 or 94, in my opinion. That's low. Trick Williams an 84. Again, this is a good score considering they dock the NXT people a ton. So an 84 is fine. Considering like what he is right now, I'd put him at like an 87. Zelina Vega being an 83 is absolutely unbelievable. I know she won the U.S. Championship for like 2 weeks or whatever it was before she lost it to Julia, but an 83 is still way too high. I'd put her at maybe an 80. So I would go over the NXT roster. Should I? Yeah, I'll do it. Andre Chase, 73, fine. Blake Monroe, 78, could be a little bit higher. I'd put her at like an 81. Brooks Jensen, 73, that's fine. Channing Stacks Lorenzo, 74, that's fine. Charlie Dempsey, 75, that is perfectly okay. Ethan Page gets an 83. That's awesome. That's them realizing that Ethan Page, deserves to be ranked higher than other people. It doesn't just get the NXT cheese where he gets just bumped into the 70s. So, I mean, if it's me, I'm giving Ethan Page like an 86, but an 83 is still a good score, so I get it. Fallon Henley, 78, that's fine. Hank Walker, 77, whatever. Izzy Dame at a 76. I think she could be a bit higher. She's been in a bunch of good feuds. She won the North American Championship. I could maybe see her at a 78. Jada Parker, 77, that's fine. JC Jane at an 80. She's been the women's NXT champion all year, basically. That's at least what it feels like. I would have put her at like an 83. If you're going to put Ethan Page there, I feel like you should also put JC Jane there as well, because they both held their respective titles almost all year. Joe Hendry's an 81. I get it, but I feel like he should be on the same level as JC Jane and as Ethan Page. I feel like he should be at an 83 as well, especially just because he became the new NXT champion. But an 81's whatever. Josh Briggs, 74, that's fine. Kalani Jordan actually got a kind of a big boost, more than I thought she would. She got 79, which is fair. Lola Vice should be on the same level as Kalani Jordan, potentially even an 80, because she has a 78 at the moment. I feel like 80 would fit Lola a little bit better. Miles Bourne, 75. That's a bit low. I feel like he's at least high 70s, like a 78, 79. Nikita Lyons, 73, whatever. Noam Dar, 76, okay. Oba Femi at an 85. That is a huge score for an NXT person. I feel like that's really fair. Like, I know they're building him up in WWE right now to be an absolute killer, so it seems low, but for the NXT standards, an 85 is really good. Ricky Saints at an 81. Good. I like that score. He was your NXT champion. He beat Oba Femi, so maybe even a little bit low. I would even put him on the same level as the Ethan Page and all those people. I would put him maybe at an 83 or an 84. Sol Ruka, 77. This is too low. This is too low. I mean, she had the North American Championship for a decent bit. She's always in the main event scene. She's been beating like Bailey, and she's been doing this thing with Zaruka, her tag team, and she had the split. I feel like she's at least at the same level as JC Jane, even though she doesn't have quite the accolades she does. Like I said, I'd put JC at like an 83, and I think I'd put Sol Ruka at the same level or even like an 82. Tank Ledger, 77, totally fine. Tony D'Angelo got a pretty solid score at a 79. So that wraps up NXT. And now that brings us to the top 10 characters in the entire game. Some of them I've already touched on, some of them I have not. So I'm going to exclude the Dark Horse, which is like the My Player character in the games. So he is at number 10 at a 95, but I'm going to slide in the number 11, who has the same score, which is The Rock. Like, The Rock this year. This is too high. Absolutely too high. He just showed up to Aura Farm and turned John Cena heel. 95. He didn't wrestle. He didn't do anything. I get he's the final boss and whatever, so that's why you rank him higher. But he has, like, you can say 2005 Rock or 2001 Rock, and that would make them higher. So I don't fully understand why you'd put him at a 95. Like, I feel like you could give him like a 93, but, whatever. Roman Reigns at a 95. Looking at the people on top of this list, I think I even said this earlier. I think Roman might be even too low. I feel like he should be like a 97, considering the way he gets booked. But, I guess 95 is fine. 2015 and 2013 John Cena are both rated a 95. This is too low. And I'm not even like a John Cena glazer by any means if you watch my stuff. But 2013 Cena and 2015 Cena are like super Cena. That's, that was part of his peak. So I think that's too low in my opinion. I think they should at least be 96s, 97s. So next we have Cody Rhodes at a 95, which I think is completely fair. I think it's even maybe a little bit too low. Same with Roman. Maybe Cody deserves like a 97 or a 98. 2013 Brock Lesnar being a 95 is absolutely insane. Let's talk about the most dominant force the WWE has ever seen. I don't remember if this is the year he beat The Undertaker. If it is this year, he should be a 99. And which sounds crazy, but I feel like every 2K game should have like a 99 overall character. It just makes sense to me to have everybody like fill that slot from the 67 of BFAB all the way up to the 99 of Brock Lesnar. Like you can, and everybody kind of just gets pitched within the wide array of people within those two numbers. So I don't remember if this is the year he beats The Undertaker. If it is, he deserves to be a 99. I still think he should probably be a 99. And I'm not even like a Brock Lesnar glazer either. I just genuinely, the way he was built up in the championships and all that stuff, deserves to be a 99. Undertaker at an 86. Undertaker deserves to be an 89. Not an 89, a 98. Just because it's The Undertaker. And he's retired, so like he's now a legend. He's now a legend character. So would make sense to me. 2001 Rock being a 96. Yeah, 100% agree. Stone Cold Steve Austin, 97. I agree. 100%, maybe even a bit too low. I think he could also be a 98 along with The Undertaker. And then the number one overall rated character is John Cena. I have a problem with this. This is this year's John Cena. why is this year's John Cena rated higher than 2013, 2015 John Cena? This year's John Cena maybe deserves a 90. Sorry. Maybe deserves a 90. He wasn't great. I didn't enjoy his retirement tour. He's overrated in my opinion. So 97's low. I mean, it's too high. So I'm thinking John Cena from this year, since he won the championship, that's cool. Held it for a little bit, had some great matches. Let's give him a 92. But 2013, 2015 Cena should be the 97 if you wanted to put it there. But I think respectively, Brock Lesnar 2013 should be the highest rated character on this list. Along with Stone Cold. Him and Stone Cold and Undertaker can all like be up there at like the almost 99 or the 98 or whatever rating. But that's what I think about the top 10. Now, here's something I do want to touch on. One last thing before I let you guys go. 2014 Randy Orton is the highest rated Randy Orton. And he is a 92. And also 97 Shawn Michaels is also a 92. So we're going to pretend WWE 2K didn't rate them that low. And we're going to pretend that they're both like 97s. That is it for our episode today. So I want to thank you guys for listening to The Zigzag with Corbin Elliott. Be here next week for another weekly review. Please do me a favor. Go check out my YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. You can all find it at The Zigzag or Zigzag06 if you want to get, personal with the little @ symbol and all that stuff. If you can't find it, but you should be able to. I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful day.